You can never truly underestimate the power and ability people have to turn a topic into a conversation about racism, because we could all sit in the exact same room and watch the exact same thing at the exact same time and come to the exact same conclusion about the thing we watched, and we could all have a basic understanding about how that works. And then there's always going to be that person or group of people in the room who says, this is the perfect time to have a conversation about racism, because what I looked at proves that we live in a racist society. I'm certain over the past few days, a few of you might have seen a video going around of a guy who's being sentenced for a crime he committed, jumping over the stand and attacking the judge because she wasn't going to show any form of leniency.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else, because I just can't with that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court...
And yes, I'm certain you might have seen all the memes. You might have even had a little ha-ha at the moment. But that guy probably thought in his mind maybe he could get away with not being sentenced. But unfortunately, he had to show up to the exact same courtroom in front of the exact same judge to be sentenced for the exact same things on Monday. And he showed up in handcuffs and with a muzzle on his face. And yes, people made fun of it. People laughed at it. People memed it. But of course, there's always going to be the people in the back who want to have a conversation about how mean and mean-spirited, and more importantly, about how racist it is. And I quote how it started, how it's going. It's called Slave Iron Bit. At Meha, whoever that is, or whatever corporation that is, this is so wrong on so many levels. Torture. Every day we are beaten down with racialized state and violence, told we must be debased and watch bodies violated and tortured. And why is he in front of the same judge? She's a party to his alleged record now. It does not matter what you are accused of having done. You cannot be treated like this. There is a whole body of literature about how juries can't see you shackled and considered you might be innocent. Sit in a trial and you'll see defendants are often brought in shackles, unshackled, then chained to the floor on sight. How can a jury or appeals judge see these court-allowed photos if they get the case later, think someone presented like a non-human animal might be innocent? How can the judge rule impartially on an attack she was in? Accused mass murderers aren't treated like this. I don't know what his alleged crimes are, but I will say this: a known racist system that will torture a man by putting him in hand shackles and a head hood is a system that will trigger a violent attempt to escape its confines. This isn't just predictable, it is inevitable. Well, uninformed bastard who clearly wants to show sympathy to the wrong group of people, I'm here to let you know he was there on battery charges. And, hate to break it to anybody in the room, he fucking proved the point of being guilty by battering the fucking judge. And to sit here and to act as if this is going to play into the eyes of people who might want to look at this in an impartial way and try to do by the book and make sure that they come to a ruling based on the actual evidence, you just gave them the green light to call you guilty by jumping and attacking the judge who was sentencing you anyway for about maybe 19 to, I believe, 48 months. Oh, by the way, might I mention, people who read the articles talking about this have found another excuse: the mental health. And as somebody who didn't let a guy, a teenager, beating his teacher slide because he had Down syndrome or whatever it was, I believe autism, I'm not letting this slide because he proved in front of the world he's not somebody to be trusted in a society, because if he doesn't get his way, he's bound to jump over anything and beat the shit out of somebody. This is what irks me about so many people, is that you're perfectly fine with throwing out these lame duck excuses. You're perfectly fine throwing out any justification for anything until it happens to you. You're somebody who would not want this to happen to you. You wouldn't want anybody hearing you say something, whether under your breath or out loud, jumping you and hurting you. You wouldn't be getting up with a black eye, a swollen lip, a bloody mouth, and a missing tooth saying, well, I clearly don't want this person presented in a bad light, because it could look bad. It could prove that we live in a racist system. It could prove that we live in a society catered on painting criminals as bad people. No shit. The criminals are there for a reason. It's because they're a bad person. And to sit there and expect this campy ass attitude mindset to go over with everybody else is nonsensical. And I'm glad my seed of common sense has been inseminated into the public known as Twitter, because the greatest response anybody gave to this guy was, nigga could have been the biggest predator known to man, and y'all gonna find a way to say it's because of his race. Because the stupid people who always want to make this about race that I always have to complain about are the people who are perfectly fine giving these excuses about everybody else, but will never utter these phrases when it happens to them. This dude could have been anything under the sun, and it could have had all the proof necessary to convict him. There's always going to be this weird group of people that comes out of the earth and say, well, you shouldn't present him like this because it's important for us to really look at how this is going to make him look in front of the jury who's supposed to give a verdict. How could you look at this man who jumped a judge and beat the judge who was already there on battery charges? Look at this man and you see him in shackles and you think to yourself, how could we in this society? It's not fair for you to treat him like this. It's not fair for you to look at him as a criminal, even though he did a jump over a very high beam and stand to attack someone who was sentencing him. But maybe she shouldn't have said anything under her breath because that's her fault. Because why would you say something like that? You're so rude. It's fucking crazy how brain dead these takes are and how much people are all fine with speaking them, thinking that if you say anything about it or if you speak out against it, it's clearly just for some reason one person controlling a bunch of accounts trying to troll you. Because I'm not joking when I say that this same dumb fuck used that as an excuse. If you can't handle the criticism of your obviously bad tweet that I had to take time to understand if it was a troll or not, but no, it's actual thoughts and it's actually real and this is what this person actually thinks, then guess what? Stop thinking you're somehow the beacon of what it means to be hopeful in society and stop calling everything racist when it's not. Just because it's a white judge and it's a black criminal doesn't make this about racism. We don't need to have a conversation about racism. We don't need to have a conversation about the racist system. We need to have a conversation about how this motherfucker was so athletic to jump over that and beat this woman. This is not something to where we're going to think in deep thought about how we have to control ourselves and understand that the whites are always trying to put us away. No, this is a dumb fuck who did a dumb fuck thing, who even exacerbated that dumb fuck thing because they didn't get the outcome that they wanted, even though they were sitting there trying to plead their case. You failed and you exacerbated your failure, and it's nobody else's fault but your own. And to the people who will sit here and strong arm me and tell me about this instance and that instance and this instance and that instance, just know I don't give a fuck, because clearly anything you bring up has nothing to do with a guy beating a woman who is sentencing him for time he clearly deserves. Subscribe to the channel. I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.